Maria. Yay! Hi. This is my first time doing a YouTube Live. And there's 174 of you watching me do my first YouTube Live. 184 of you, my God. Okay, exciting news, everybody. It's Friday, okay? Second exciting news is over 1,000 people signed up for this, which means we all need to be getting paid more, right? Am I right? Yeah? I wish we were in person. Well, actually, no, I don't wish we were in person right now. I like being safe. Okay, here's what's awesome. You guys are already in the chat. Look at this. We got Berlin, Germany, Vancouver. We've got Chicago, New York, Montreal, Chicago. I mean, I could really keep saying all of your locations. So good. You got the gist. You're going to keep putting in where you're from. And guess what? This is Ladies Get Paid. So that means we are here to network. Of course, we're here to negotiate too. But I want you all to get new jobs, better jobs that pay. So drop your LinkedIn in there. That's key. People have found really good opportunities just because they trolled the LinkedIn. Speaking of trolls, we're not going to have any of that. We're going to be super positive today. I know it's a pandemic, but we're going to be positive. Okay, first of all, because it's New York, I mean, it's not New York, it's Friday. We're going to do some cheers. Take your coffee, take your wine, whatever you have. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. We're going to let some more folks join. I needed some coffee. Okay. Awesome. Good, guys. I'm glad you're dropping in. Hey, Jamila. So awesome to see some new folks here and some old folks. Quickly, if you are new, tell me you're new. I'm going to give you just a quick background on me, Ladies Get Paid, why you should listen to me. I'm Claire. I'm the founder. We are an educational platform that helps women level up professionally, financially. We do it through webinars. We do it through free things like this. And we also have a video library. So go to ladiesgetpaid.com, and you can also go to ladiesgetpaid.com/institute. Tons of pre-recorded webinars. The other awesome thing that we do, and yes, I will get started talking about money in approximately 60 seconds. The other thing that we do that is awesome is we have an enormous Slack group. Who's in it? Who's in the Slack group? Okay, 45,000 women from all 50 states and more than 120 countries have exchanged over 2 million messages since 2016. All right, so we like to talk. And what we're talking about is, again, money, career. We're basically crowdsourcing advice from one another. We've got different channels based on what I like to call workplace anxieties, frustrations, right? If you are pissed off about anything in the workplace, I want you to come in. I want you to tell your story. And as you know, if you've come to any of my things before, I love to say, you got to pay it forward. Literally pay it forward. So if you are in a position to pay other people, pay them fairly. That's my, the Slack link. Okay. So the way to get into the Slack group, which yes, it is free, so no excuses, you are going to go to ladiesgetpaid.com, put in your email. We're going to add you. It takes a couple of days because we have to do it manually. So that means I'm seeing every single one of you joining. That sounded kind of creepy. There we go. Awesome. Welcome everybody. 274. By the way, if you need to jump off or if I'm talking really quickly and you don't have time to do notes, which yes, I will speak quickly. Don't worry, the recording is going to stay here for life, Oh, good. I love that people are knowing each other. Kathleen, good to see you. All right. You all submitted amazing questions. Like I said, over 1,000 people registered. I think I got like 999 questions. Some of them the same, and others really got me thinking, which was awesome. So what I'm going to do for the first 30 minutes or so is I'm going to just give you my salary negotiation webinar condensed. Normally it's 60 to 75 minutes. So again, I will speak quickly. And then the last 30 minutes, I'm going to take questions, put them in the chat. That being said, because folks submitted really good questions already, I'm probably going to focus that 30 minutes on going through the questions that were already given to me. That being said, again, put your questions in because other folks may actually have answers for you. I'm just one person. I don't know everything. I'm going to give you my opinion. And like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years, went across the country 2 years ago and went to 19 cities and talked about money with women. I saw about 3,000 folks. So I think I've got a good handle on how to do this. And yes, it is part emotional and confidence, but it's not just that. There's a lot of logistics, a lot of scripts, and yes, there's structural inequality. So we have to deal with that too. Awesome. All right, guys, let's get started here. Okay, So I want to begin with the fact that people emailed me and they said, can I negotiate in a pandemic? Okay, that was number one. Number two was, how do I negotiate if I'm not sure that I'm deserving? So the first answer is easy. The answer is yes, you can and you should always negotiate, right? That Wayne Gretzky quote, like if you don't 100% of the shot, you all know this quote, right? It's like, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I don't do sports, but I love that quote. All right. You're going to ask with empathy, though. You're going to acknowledge times are strange. You're not going to say, I know budgets are tight, because that's making it easy for them to say, yes, you're right. So you're just going to say, it's kind of awkward negotiating in a pandemic. I also want you to remember that the person you're negotiating with, they also have to negotiate their salary. This bullshit has been going on now for close to a year. So the person you're negotiating with will also have had to negotiate their salary during a pandemic. So have empathy for them. They will have empathy for you. The part about, I don't know if I'm deserving, therapists, we need some therapists here, okay? But I do want to acknowledge and I want to validate how you feel, because you are definitely not the only one that has mentioned that to me. I also think we should explore a little bit of imposter syndrome here, right? This belief that maybe we're not as good or smart or as competent as we've presented ourselves to be. Go to clairewasserman.com. I've got a free imposter syndrome webinar on there, but we also do more in-depth stuff in that video library I mentioned. So we're going to just put that to the side, but I think when it comes to negotiating, a lot of times it brings up other stuff for us. So really use this as an opportunity to kind of explore yourself, any internal blockers you've got going on. Okay. Again, therapy is good. The other fear that a lot of folks have when they go into a negotiation is that they will somehow piss the other person off, right? That they're going to jeopardize the relationship. I also want to validate that. Okay. There's always a chance you could lose the opportunity, right? Like the strongest negotiators are those who are able and willing to walk away. I will not deny it. Does that happen? I've heard of one person in my 4 years of doing this, one person who lost the opportunity. And honestly, it kind of sounded like there was some other stuff going on. So put that fear to the side, because if you are at the place where you're negotiating, whether it is for a new job or at your current job, they clearly want you. You have gotten through the rounds of interviewing. Okay. Imagine if you walk away, you say, you know what, this salary is not right for me. That person has to go back to their boss and say that they lost you. They are invested in making this work. You are absolutely on the same page. I also want you to remember that the first offer is rarely the last offer, even if they say that it is. Okay. Anybody in here, managers or business owners, where you've, presented numbers to folks that you're negotiating with, right? You expect them to negotiate back. The number you're giving, you can go up just a little bit. And this is what's so crazy is when we don't negotiate, a lot of times these companies don't tell us that we could have gotten more money, right? They're in it to give the least amount of money to their employees as possible. That being said, I think companies now are recognizing that if they lose their employees, right, or if there's resentment among their employees, right, they're talking about how they're underpaid, that's going to be bad for business, right? You're going to be less productive. You're going to be less dedicated. You might walk away. So you have more power than you may be actually giving yourself credit for. Last thing here, get your financial safety net together, guys. This is why we teach financial literacy along with career development, because that safety net's going to allow you to say, you know what, I got another option, whether it's my side hustle, etc. Okay, and we're going to talk about market research a little bit. And like I said, you can throw some questions in, comments, your stories. I'm going to keep moving sort of quickly here because there's just so much to cover. That being said, that doesn't mean I'm not going to scroll through the chat later. Okay, so if I don't get to you this minute, I might get to you afterwards. Market research. All right, how many of you all go to Glassdoor and you're like, this bullshit does not resonate with me. None of these, they don't make sense, right? Or you find Glassdoor, you go in with your number and they ask you, where'd you find this number? And you say Glassdoor, and they're like, that's not relevant. I'm not saying anything bad about Glassdoor. Sponsor us. That would be great. What I'm saying is it is only one source. Treat this like you are a detective, right? You are a detective and you need to go build your case. This is me building a case. Okay. You need to go build your case. If you walk in there with one piece of evidence, that is not a strong case. So I would say challenge yourself to find at least 6 sources that make you feel really strong. Okay, so yes, Glassdoor, love PayScale, love Indeed, right? Shout outs to those. I also want you to talk to real people, whether you are reaching out cold to recruiters. I'm just gonna act this out with my hands. If you went to college, go get your money's worth, right? That is a whole network of people. Go back to career resources, alumni. Ask them, say, I'm trying to figure out my salary. And I bet a lot of other students or alumni also are figuring this out. I think you're in a good position to help us. Can you send out a newsletter, do a survey, right? This is me saying, do not wait for somebody else to give you the information. You can be the one to demonstrate to them that they need to be helping you. The other thing is join Ladies Get Paid, join other communities. This is a really good networking tip I'm going to give you. You know who you should make friends with? The person who organizes the community. So in the Facebook group, who's the admin, right? They're the gatekeeper to a lot. And that also then gets when you talk to your friends about money. It's awkward, can be awkward. If you do not feel comfortable straight up asking people, how much do you make or how much do you think I should make? Go bring them the research that you did, okay? Say, this is the ballpark I found. Am I off base? Or, hey, do you make $50,000 or more? I make more. How about 60,000, right? Like you could do that. Now, I also think that we should just like call out the financial elephant in the room and say, I'm concerned about the wage gap. I know this is uncomfortable. Blame it on me. Blame it on Ladies Get Paid, right? Like you can say, here's the context of why I'm asking. You can also decide, okay, if I don't ask, I might make less money. Let's say you'd make $5,000 less or $10,000 less. You have a choice here. If you stay silent because you feel uncomfortable, your silence is worth $5,000 or $10,000. So that's a choice you're going to make, right? And it's not like you're necessarily ever going to feel comfortable talking about money. The key here is like, how are you going to move past the discomfort? Something to remember, two things to remember actually. One, this needs to be rooted in reality. And by reality, I mean the location of the company, size of the company, if you have unique skills, right? If you are creative, but you also know how to code a little bit, or you got your master's degree, right? People will pay you more for these things. I also want you to remember that it's not one number that you're finding. That's a mistake. You will make less money if you only bring in one number, okay? It's a range, right? And what this is called in sort of HR language, it's a pay band, okay? So this is why if you ever talk to your colleagues and people are making a little bit less or a little bit more than you, and you're like, how did this happen? It is because folks are compensated on that scale. So your challenge is going in there and saying, I am a top performer, so my salary should be commensurate with top dollar. That's the goal. Okay. Now, part of the market research that you're doing, yes, you were finding that pay band. It's rooted in your context, rooted in reality. You've double checked it, with real people. Pick 3 numbers, guys. 3 numbers. Like I said, coming in with one number, that's not, that you're going to lose out. So the 3 numbers that I want you to pick, I call them fuck you money. I can curse, right? I can curse. Fuck you money. So this is the top of the pay band. Actually, maybe go a little bit higher because I want you to start feeling like you believe that you deserve that number. And if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable to say it, that is good. If you don't feel uncomfortable saying it, it's probably not high enough. Fuck you money. We got the feeling good number. That's the middle of the pay band. You'd be proud to get this number. You've done your budgets, right? You know that this number is going to bring you a lot of value. In all honesty, that's the number that you probably will end up getting. You're not going to start with that number, but you have to be okay with that number. Last one. This is, I respect myself too much and I'm walking away, right? This is the bottom line. And this is not a formula, but something that I find that's been very helpful for me in determining my bottom line is, first of all, your budget, right? And we do a lot of finance classes, so I'm not going to get too far into that, but quickly, there's 3 percentages that you're going to use to figure out your budget. Post-income tax, 50% of that has to go through the things that you need to survive. 30% of that, post-tax, again, we don't want you to get screwed over by the IRS here. 30% of that post-tax income, that is going to go to the things that you would like to have, right? Going out to dinner when we can finally do that, right? The fun stuff. 20%, that is the responsible shit. You need to pay down debt. You need savings, right? Retirement, house, you want to buy a house, all that good stuff. By the way, these are not locked. You can totally change around these percentages. Once you figure out your budget, what I highly suggest that you do is then make a list of all of the things that the company gives you that maybe is not monetary, it could be, that is attractive to you, right? This is a perk to working there. I'm talking about short commute when we go commute again. I'm talking about prestigious title or maybe the name of the company, right? This is going to look really good on your resume. You are pivoting. So this is a new industry, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So this is the reason why I'm spending some time here with you on the bottom line, is because ultimately your decision needs to be about cost benefit analysis. Is it worth taking this opportunity if you are not paid very much? And I know I'm ladies get, you should get as much as you can. Money does not buy happiness. And there are a lot of reasons that a lot of people take jobs that pay less. Maybe it's less hours, right? They're thinking about their next job, which, by the way, we should all be doing, even if you're not sure what you want to do moving forward. It's always about how do the opportunities I have and how are the skills that I'm learning, how can I leverage that for the future? And sometimes those things come without a big paycheck, and that is totally fine, and there is no shame in that. So this is also why I love salary negotiation, is because it is really a larger conversation about your values, your priorities, your goals, right? Your money and your job, it is not everything. So I think you really need to take a step back and look holistically at the life that you want to lead. What place does your job and your money have in that? So this is a larger conversation, right? Okay, so do spend time with your bottom line, because there is a chance, especially in the bullshit we're going through right now, there is a chance that they will push you to your bottom line. There is a chance they will go below your bottom line. And before you immediately accept it because you're desperate, which I really hope that we're not in a place of desperation, guys, before you accept it, I want you to already have done the work to know that this is of value to you. Okay? Good. When you go into negotiate, completely forget about the bottom line. Act like it doesn't even exist. You're going to focus on those two top numbers. You're going to start with the fuck you money. Assuming they counter you, you're going to then go to the feeling good number, or even a little bit higher than the feeling good number. They still say no. Before you go to your bottom line, I want you to bring up what's called full compensation. Full comp. How many of y'all have heard of this? Full comp, okay? This is key. You will always negotiate for full compensation, but it's even more important now. Again, with the bullshit we're going through. So full compensation, what is it? These are things that bring you value, but don't cost the company that much money or any money. So what are examples of full comp? I want you to throw this in here because I know a lot of you have probably negotiated for this. Flexibility, bonus, right? Bonus, commission, gas money when we have to commute again, right? Or Metro card. These things cost money. Cell phone plan if they're not already paying for it. My favorite is career development, because I want you to make sure, again, that you are positioning yourself for your next job. I'm talking about things like paying for the Ladies Get Paid video library. Again, ladiesgetpaid.com/institute. Have to give myself a shout out there. I'm talking about them sending you to a conference or master's degree or my book behind me, right? If you're thinking to yourself, well, Claire, I can't get more money from them for my salary, so how would I be able to get more money for other things? First of all, again, that Wayne Gretzky quote, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Here's the thing. A lot of companies have separate budgets. They got a budget for salary and they've got a budget for career development. So that's one thing. Second thing is when you make your ask, be prepared to show how this is a benefit to them. So proactively think about, well, what are all the reasons they're going to push back on me? So career development, easy. You can say, this will help me bring extra skills to my job, right? Or I'm happy to give a presentation to the team, right? And share my knowledge. Even better is having something specific in mind, right? This is the conference I want to go to. It's also really good to find clients there, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to spend too much time on full comp, but again, I do encourage you all, please put into the chat things that you have been able to get. Parking, great. So good. All right, I'm seeing some good stuff here. When you talk about full comp, I'm going to give you, again, my opinion. I am not God, as much as I would perhaps like to think I am, which is really narcissistic that I just said that. I would bring up full compensation after the salary conversation has ended. Here's why. I don't want them to use your desire for a parking spot as a leverage to get your salary down. Okay. All right. That being said, if any of the full comp are things that are deal breakers for you, if you do not get, yes, you need to bring them up early, maybe even during the interview process, because I do not want to waste your time, their time, right? Now, other career coaches might tell you, I want you to negotiate everything all at once. So you have to figure out what's most comfortable for you. There's really not a right or wrong answer. I think a lot of times people, when they think about negotiation, they like think there's a right or wrong. Honestly, the wrong way to negotiate is to not negotiate or to act like you're entitled, right? We want to do this again with as much empathy as possible. So that actually brings me to my point of the double bind. Double bind, okay. Who has heard of the double bind? If you read Lean In, I think Sheryl Sandberg talks about this. So the double bind is effectively when we act outside of kind of the social norm of how we're expected to act, we might get penalized. Example, as a woman, I'm assertive. Somebody might perceive me as aggressive, right? Women of color, Black women, they know this. They know this all too well, right? Because they're dealing with both sexism and racism compounded together. And you know what's really shitty? Women penalize other women just as much as men penalize, okay? So how do you counter that? Because you are walking into a situation where you are asserting yourself, you're declaring your value, right? And women are expected to be grateful and accommodating, people-pleasing, right? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. You're gonna say we a lot. I'm sure we can figure this out, or I know we're gonna figure this out together. I'm excited to be here. I know you're a company that pays fairly. Okay. You're going to talk about your accomplishments as well as the accomplishments of the team, right? You are a team player. You're going to talk about your values, right? So does that suck? Yes. Right. Not to keep being cliche and like quoting other people, but you know, there's that quote of Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, but backwards in heels. That is totally how I feel like women act in the workplace and maybe in life, right? We can't just go in and be like, this is what I deserve. We also have to really dig into our accomplishments. Good. We're coming up on a little, we've got 8 minutes left here before I start taking questions. Just kidding. I'm running this. I'm going to keep talking. Okay. So your accomplishments, this is actually to me the most important part because the market research, that's math, guys. That's data. You didn't make that up. You're coming in and you're going to tell them all of your sources. The accomplishment is where you're able to demonstrate to them that you are a top performer. Therefore, you should get top dollar. So, and also that you're not like every other candidate. Wow, my hair. Okay. We're going to do that. All right. Okay, I'm not going to look at myself anymore. Anybody do these kinds of lives? It's very strange. So your accomplishments. First, if you are a perfectionist, if you are hard on yourself, if you feel like what you do is just your job, right? How could you think of them as your wins? First of all, that's how we're socialized. I want you to gut check yourself. If you ever have self-doubt, please ask yourself, would a mediocre white man feel this way? I know some of you are laughing right now. You're laughing because it's true. And love, I was gonna say love mediocre white guys. Not really, but love men, whatever. So not, man hating here. But what I'm trying to show you is that a lot of the self-doubt, a lot of times that we're holding ourselves back has nothing to do with us and everything to do with how we're socialized. Plus, if we don't see people who look like us in positions of power, yeah, we're gonna doubt if we deserve to be there. Fuck that, put that to the side, right? You gotta learn how to like quiet that voice. So how do we look at our accomplishments like they are accomplishments, right? Figure out what was the shit that was hard for you this year. Okay, a lot was hard. Challenges that came your way. The story you're going to tell is about how you overcame those challenges, right? Because in that you were demonstrating not just what you do, but how you do it, who you are. We are hired to be on teams. We are hired to be part of a larger company culture, right? An ecosystem. So you're going to demonstrate that you bring a shit ton of value by the mere fact that you are you. Okay, so that's part of it. I also would love for you to look at your original job description when they hired you and then write up a fully new one based on what you actually did, because I guarantee you did so much more. Also, your job, you may have taken on other people's work, your new job, right? If you were hiring somebody to replace you, honestly, it could look nothing like what you were first hired to do. When you compare those two job descriptions, maybe focus on kind of the scope change, right? What changed? Can you look and find some accomplishments, some wins within that scope change, right? That might be a good place to focus. Then I want you to use a structure. I want you to structure the win, because it's not just I did this, mic drop, right? I want you to spend a lot of time digging into your accomplishments. Use what is called the STAR method. I did not make it up, but I could not figure out who did, so I will go ahead and take some credit. STAR method, it is an acronym. S, and we're just going to spell it out. STAR, okay? S stands for set the scene, right? So take this accomplishment. Imagine you're in a movie. Imagine you're the main character. The reason I want you to do that, there's actually two reasons. One, we are way too close to ourselves. Two, we are way too hard on ourselves. So when you pretend that you are a character in a movie, chances are you are going to root for yourself. You're also going to see how impressive you are, okay? High stakes. I want you to figure out in the context, right? Setting the scene, the who, what, when, where, why, all that good stuff. When you set the scene, think about what was at stake, right? Like, did your boss tell you to do this within 24 hours, right? Or if you did this, then, this like big thing was going to happen for your company. Like if you were having trouble figuring that out, I also want to challenge you to think about who can help you. Who have you worked with, right? So get some of that perspective. The T, this is the task. So what you were asked to do, or what did you take on for yourself? A, action. But this is where I don't want you just to go into like, here's what I did, but also that like, here's how I did it. Because that's going to demonstrate to them what I said before, sort of like the who you are. For example, last job I had, I was tasked with doing a big event in Portland, Oregon. I was from New York. We needed to spread the word about our community. And it wasn't just I got, 500 people to show up for an event. It was how did I do it, right? I did it with no budget. So I talked about partnerships I made, et cetera, et cetera. I won't get into the details, but that demonstrated things like I'm a fast learner, I'm resourceful, creative, resilient, self-initiated. All of those things are extremely important. Do not assume that they know this about you. Our result. This is where you're going to have to do some research. So what happened? Most importantly, what was the impact of it? I have gotten questions that are, well, Claire, I don't know quite what my impact is, right? Like if you're in sales, you know exactly how much money you bring into the company, right? That's sort of like an easy, straightforward case. If you are in a more creative department or you're not totally sure how you bring in money to the department, right? First, know that you do bring in money. Otherwise, you do not work there, right? But what you might actually be doing for the company is saving them time and resources, especially if you are working on something where you're covering for a person on maternity leave or whatever, right? So you're saving money. Maybe you developed a more efficient way for your team to work together, okay? Maybe you were able to do things really under budget. Saved time is saved money. So it's not just about sort of going out and making more, it's also about conserving. Put it in numbers as best as you can. So it's not just I got people to show up to the event. I got 500 people. I also looked at my guest list and I started to research on Instagram. I was really curious to see, could I show the reach, right? On average, people had X number of followers. I looked up how many people tweeted about the event, right? You can get creative. Actually, you should get creative here. So again, if you're not sure where your impact is, my challenge to you is who can tell you? There's no shame in going to your boss and saying, I want to better understand how this company operates and my place in it. I want to be a leader here. I want to grow. You should be doing this all year anyway, again, because if you're sort of just focusing on only what you do and not understanding like where you fit into like the larger business model, I think you're at a disadvantage because you can use that information to position yourself, right, for a raise and a promotion. And that is all. Good. I did it in 30 minutes. Fuck yeah. All right, guys. So let me talk now about process. Okay, process. So process for a new job. Online application. Got that question. When they ask you how much do you want to make, what do you say? I've heard different things from different people. I talked to a recruiter at Facebook to see what she said because I had a hunch that this was how you should do it. She recommended that you actually maybe put in closer to the lower amount. So you found that range. Maybe don't go bottom line, right? Something towards the bottom. You know why? Because your goal with your online application is actually not to get the job. Your goal with the online application is to get past the ATS. And the ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. Just trying to get past the first round. And whether it's, a software like an ATS or people doing it by hand, manually, they might be going through and saying, this person's charging too much. We can't, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. That being said, if this is a company that doesn't want to pay you more, then you don't want to work there either. So again, don't put your bottom line. Now, You're probably thinking, Claire, this is terrible advice. If I say that I want a lower salary and then it gets time to negotiation and I tell them more, are they going to look at me like I bait and switch them? Or what are the chances that they're going to say, you said this on your online application? They're going to know you much better. You will have made that compelling case about who you are and what you bring to the table. They're going to be really excited about you. If they do bring it up, you can say, I did more research after that. Okay. You're also going to still bring your research. It's not like, I want this number, bye. Like, this is what the market is, and this is what I'm suggesting. And let me tell you about my accomplishments that back it up. Okay. So I would put that. That is my opinion. Okay. So you're in the negotiation. First of all, congratulations. Yeah, you made it past. I'm going to cheers to you so I can take a sip of coffee. They ask you, what do you currently make? Everybody now, well, don't do it now. I want you to listen to me. But afterwards, Google salary history ban. This is a new law. Not every state has it. So Google if your state does. This is a law that makes it illegal for for an employer to ask a prospective employee how much they currently make. Why? Why did they do this? The thinking is if marginalized groups are getting paid less from the beginning of their career, which the wage gap says that we are, if every year we are asked, or every new job we are asked, how much did you get paid, then, and then we're like incrementally making a little bit more, compounded over time, we will always make less. So if we just say, we're not going to take that into account, forget what you used to make, we're going to just focus on the market for this new job. So if they ask you, you have two choices. You can say, I'd prefer not to say, okay? Or you can say, here's what I make, but I believe it is not relevant. Because what I was offered then has nothing to do with all of the experiences that I've had since then, the wins, okay? And I'm not negotiating for that job. So then you really focus on the market research you've done for them. So it's about pivoting, but that is up to you. That's up to what you're comfortable with. You can also say my boss prefers I keep the number confidential. You can be abstract. I make, in high five figures, whatever. I wouldn't lie. You may have gotten that advice where, say your old salary or current salary to add 20% to it. That still may be underpaid. Okay. Also, why would you start this relationship in like a lying kind of, like, you just don't need to do that. You can be transparent if you were able to back it up with the market research and examples of your accomplishments. Trust me on that. Next question. How much do you want to make? If they ask you this during the interview, you can just say, well, here's the research I did, and I'd love for us to keep talking so I can keep learning about, the role, the company, and my place in it, or whatever. So don't be afraid to say what the market research is. I always find it very uncomfortable to play this like game of chicken. No, you say, right? You will get that advice from other people. Never be the first one to say it, right? I disagree. Could be controversial that I'm saying this, but when you say what you want and you can back it up, what is the problem with it? That you might go too high and lose the opportunity? Not if you say that. If you say, this is the number based on my market research. That being said, this is a conversation. I'm sure we can figure out something together. Same thing for freelancers. I'm going to let you in on a little secret, which now I'm totally exposing my tactic here, but want to help you all. I quote people something very expensive, but I also say, I understand times are tough. You tell me what your budget is. We can figure it out, right? Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people go, I can do that. I can, because I don't even want to do the back and forth. I can pay you. I'm like, really? Shit, right? Other times they say, I really appreciate that, right? Like it's starting out again in this really empathetic way, right? I'm countering the double bind, right? And then they say, well, here's the number we were thinking. And in my head, I go, awesome. We're now going to find something between their number and my number. That is what a negotiation is, guys. You have the three numbers in your back pocket. If they say, this is what we have to offer you, and it is lowballing you, I would encourage you to say, that's a great starting point. I was hoping for something closer to X or Y, right? And I believe my worth is commensurate with it. I know somebody who gave a PowerPoint presentation. This was for her current job. She gave a whole PowerPoint presentation along with footnotes. That was her research. Like, you can bring in notes. You can even say, this is really important to me. You can say, I'm nervous doing this, but this is really important to me, right? You can also say to them, I know that you're a company that pays fairly. That's called shaming them. No, it's not shaming them, but it's like wink, wink, and then they say, oh, we really can't do that. The answer, it's no. It's no. Well, what do you do? What do you do? You then talk about full compensation, because at the end of the day, you have to get a yes from them on something, even if the only thing you can get a yes on is a timetable, right? Normally, we would give raises every year. Well, listen, they can't give you what you're asking for. So how about 6 months from now? And if it's 6 months from now, I want you to schedule an appointment 3 months from then so you can check in and say, am I still on track? Get information from them. By the way, if things are not in writing or you don't put shit on calendars, it doesn't exist. So you have to stay on top of them. Current job, when to bring it up. Somebody asked, actually a few people asked, if my review is on a certain date, do I wait till then to negotiate? And I think they asked that question because they sort of already knew the answer, which is no. You want to have this conversation beforehand, because chances are when they bring you the number during the annual review, the budgets are closed. Okay. So there's somebody I know. We will not say who she is or what her company is, but her annual review happened in February. And she had this feeling that it was going to be too late if that's when she started talking about the raise. So she went poking around and she asked, when are the budgets being decided? Go make friends with executive assistants, right? People who've been at the company for a long time, the IT person, right? Folks who are just tapped into how this company operates, right? And internal dynamics. This is going to help you with office politics. Ask them. And it's not that you're being like, I want to know the budget so I can get a raise. It's again, I want to understand how this company operates so I can do an even better job. Okay, wink, wink. For her, the budgets, she realized, were being decided in November, right? So that was November to February. She started talking to her boss leading up to November. She came in, she talked about her work, and she said, I would love to position myself for a raise. What's the best way to go about this? And, for a lot of you, it's not your boss actually deciding whether or not you should get the raise. It's them going to make the case to somebody higher up. So then you say, how can I help you help me? Right? What do you need to know about my work in order to make the strongest case possible? And that's when you can send them a whole friggin' PowerPoint on it. And by the way, you should be tracking your accomplishments the entire year. Otherwise, you're going to sit there being like, what did I do? Like, you're just making life harder for yourself. So go ahead, do that now. Throughout the year, I also want you to be talking about your value. If they don't do regular check-ins with you, force them to. Could be 5-10 minutes. Every time that you check in, I want you to bring up an accomplishment. Okay. If that feels weird to you, then put it in a larger context. Like, this client said this, I thought it was really interesting, but also remember, their success is, my phone is going crazy. Hopefully it's somebody on this being like, you're doing great. If you're hearing that pinging noise, you go in and you say, listen, remember, their success is dependent on your success. They will be very happy to know that you are doing very well. I mentioned client testimonials or client, positive comments. That's something I also want you to be tracking all year and bringing in. I call it a brag book. Screenshot anytime somebody says that you kicked ass. Anytime. Keep it somewhere. Keep a running log. It's almost like you are a business, right? You're like the LLC of you. You're going to raise money for your company, right? That's you asking for a raise. If you have a product, which, I guess we're kind of products here. That's weird, but, keep going on the analogy. You want to have some customer testimonials, right? It's like, don't just take my word for it. Take Joe Schmo's word for it. Okay. And by the way, think about when a company is pitching for investment. It is not a favor. It is not charity. It's actually even not about you. This is an aha moment I'm having. Getting a raise is not about you. It is actually about them. Because when somebody invests in you, it's because they are expecting a return on their money. They are actually expecting you to bring even more value than the salary you're getting. This should not make you intimidated. I have had women tell me that they're worried that if they pitch a big salary and they get it, that they are now setting themselves up for failure, right? Because their boss is now going to be thinking, well, they didn't live up to this. Hello, mediocre white man. No, 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 no. Okay. Great. I'm going to answer some of those questions now. Keep throwing them in the chat. Like I said, we got like 999 questions already. So let me start with theirs. We've got 20 minutes left. I will maybe spend a couple minutes more with you guys. Let us do this. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys. I know that there's other scenarios, like if you are in, quote, a bidding war, somebody sent that in. First, let's not, think of these things as wars. They're just about making it work. It's a creative, you're trying to find a creative solution. If you do have another offer, you can absolutely bring it up. I would not say the name of the company. If they push you, I would say, I'd like to decline that. You can say it's a large tech company. I mean, you can sort of give some details. You can say, they gave me an offer. And by the way, say that you got a larger offer than you did. I mean, don't go crazy here. Beef it up and then say, but I want to work here. Right? I want to work here. I believe in your mission. I really like you. Can we get closer to this? Can you match it? What can you do? Balls in their court. There's also, silence is powerful. Do you find yourself uncomfortable with silence? By the way, I think a lot of women do. I had definitely struggled with that. Just say what you want, and then it's up to them. Also, something I love doing is, and this can happen with both like deciding between offers, you can always just say, if you were in my position, what would you do? Okay. I don't want to hurt my relationship here, but I just felt the need to be transparent with you. Okay. Let's answer some questions. Let's talk about, so good. So many good questions. Let's talk about something shitty for a second. You ready for this? How many of you have found out that your colleague is making more money than you? Okay. What do you do? First, what you should be doing, in your time at this company, you should be building relationships. You should be finding allies, advocates, people who are yes on your level, people who are above your level. Okay. So if you do want to start talking to folks, it's not random. You've developed that rapport. By the way, companies legally cannot retaliate against, their workers for talking about money. So do keep that in mind. So get more information, figure out, how do I handle this, right? If you know the person who's maybe worked with your boss before, like get an understanding of sort of their personality and how to be able to like dialogue with them, because my advice is not one size fits all. You do need to filter it through your relationship. There's that. You can absolutely go to them. By the way, you should have done all of your research. So it's not just about this person makes more. What the hell? You do the research, you have your 3 numbers, you have your accomplishments, or all the things that we've already talked about. You can say, I recently discovered that I am being paid X amount less than somebody else or some other folks here. Don't call them out. Again, if they say, well, who is it? Like, you can always decline this. You can say, I want to protect their identity. I really don't want this to be uncomfortable. Again, blame it on me, blame it on the wage gap. It's just really important for me as a woman or as a woman of color to make sure that I'm expressing my value, right? Like, again, this is the shaming. We need to find a different word. It's not totally shaming, but it's, again, like, I see you, okay? Better pay me fairly. And then you say, I want to understand why. So get more information, guys. Information is power. You want to understand, how is compensation determined here? Why did they make more money? They may say they got a master's degree. Have one, right? Then again, I told you, right? This is all contextual. It's not always discrimination. It's contextual. Contextual. Don't know how to say that word. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So you get more information, and then you say, it's important for me to be doing my best here and compensated fairly. What do I need to do to get there? Right? And if, again, people are saying no to you, it's not yet. That's really what they're saying. You also have every right to say why. I want to understand better. Why? Okay. So get more information. And then you decide if this is a place that discriminates and if you need to be walking away. Okay. Somebody asked, if I need to reduce my hours due to assisting my children with remote learning, how do I negotiate a new salary and frame it the same way back to the same salary? First of all, God bless. I don't, every time I want to complain about the pandemic, I only have a cat. She's a little high maintenance, but like, Those of you with children, also, I won't get into all the statistics because I'm not trying to be depressed right now. Women are seriously suffering during the pandemic. Way more of us have dropped out of the workforce. Way more of us have had our promotions stalled because of the pandemic. Way more of us are losing our jobs, right? And a lot of this has to do with the fact that caregiving falls on us, right? And that's just how we're socialized. Okay, so I hear you. If you are not hourly, you should not be feeling insecure, right? Like, of course, if you're hourly, then yeah, you get paid less. Like, that's just how that works. If you are salaried and you need to reduce your hours, this is ultimately about your impact at the company. Think about, you may be able to do amazing things in like 4 hours a day when somebody takes 7 or 8 hours a day to do the same thing. So it's actually really about your work. And also for any moms out there, you're probably like, I'm way more efficient than I ever was, like multitask, like all those things. So remember, it's about your work and not about your hours. The company has a culture where we don't disclose salary information and no brackets are disclosed. My friends at a competitor company say that I'm undercompensated. How should I proceed to get the deserved income? You can, again, go back to them and say, I understand a competitor company makes X more. I know this is a company that pays fairly. I know this is a company that wants to be competitive in recruiting and retaining talent. So what can we do to get me closer there? Or again, I want to understand better why this is. And then they say, we can't pay you more. Full compensation. Like, Google it, full compensation. All the things you could possibly get, have them in your back pocket, prioritize them. You have to get at least one thing out of them, if not salary. I realized that there was a question I'd wanted to acknowledge that I didn't, which is, what happens if I lowball myself? Can I go back to them? Yes, but not really. So here's what I mean. Again, nobody wants to feel like there's bait and switch happening, whether it's you to them or them to you. So you go and you say, I want to acknowledge, after I did more research, I lowballed myself. I think I may have done that because A, I really want to work here, and B, I had some insecurity about it and I'm working on it, or whatever you want to say. But I do want to acknowledge that I did the research and I would have asked for this number, or I realized that I asked for 20% less. I want to respect that. We obviously came to an agreement, but I do want to know, how do we get closer to that? Like, can in 3-6 months we reevaluate? Right? We're curious to hear what your thoughts. Have you ever been in this position? Right? So it's more about, I just want to acknowledge that because, again, women are often underpaid, and I felt like I needed to stand up for that. Whatever. You can all just basically say, blame it on me. Blame it on me. All right. Let us see. So if you are switching industries, how should you go about translating your salary level from an overall lower paying industry to a higher paying one? Interesting that actually that was the question, because I misread it. I thought it was about, if you are switching salary, if you're switching industries, right, can you still ask for the same amount of money? So I'm going to acknowledge this. First of all, again, it's based on the market. So for this person, if they went from, a lower paying industry to a higher paying industry, forget the lower paying industry. You are no longer there. So this is all about the higher paying one. If you are changing industries, pivoting roles, you have less experience, right? And that's part of the context of the market research. It is about years of experience, skills, etc. Does that mean that you automatically would be paid less, or you have a really weak case? That's not true. So I think what you need to focus on, 2 things. 1, go get more information from the person whose job that you are applying for. Doesn't necessarily mean it's at the company you work for. That might feel kind of weird, but go network with other people, get a really good understanding of what this new role, what this new industry, what this job, what do they require for you to excel? And a lot of times it's being able to speak to challenges that will happen at that job, because what you need to demonstrate is you fully understand what you're walking into. You've got some great ideas. You also have the unique perspective of an outsider. And then you're going to talk, this is the second part, you're going to talk about transferable skills. So you're going to say, here are things that I did. Now knowing what I'm up at, what's going to be happening in this next role or in this industry, here's how they relate. This is where you have to get creative. This is also where it's maybe, again, more about like the how you did things and the who you are than it is about sort of exactly what you did, because that may have very little to do with it. And it also might be, let's start with this lower salary. It's like, all right, fine, we're going to start with the lower salary. Can I prove my worth here? Like, I think you can absolutely make the case in like 6 months for an accelerated timetable. Doesn't mean you're getting the raise in 6 months, but you're positioning yourself for the raise after a year. We've got 9 minutes left. I think I'm doing a pretty good job here. How can you politely turn down higher level responsibilities when a pay increase is off the table? Interesting. Really interesting. I'm going to take a sip of water for that. First, I want you to ask yourself, does this promotion actually help you for your next job? I know that it's frustrating. I know you might feel like you're being taken advantage of and disappointed and all those things. But before you have that knee-jerk reaction, which this is important to remember. If you ever feel like you were being put on the spot where they're like, here's the raise, take the money, can slow down the conversation. Or maybe you're having the conversation and you don't like how it's going, right? You can always say, you know what? This is feeling really fast. This is obviously a really important conversation to have. Do you mind if I reschedule? Can I take a beat to reflect on this? Same thing. You cannot spring this conversation on other people. You can't slack your boss and say, hey, can I grab you for 20 minutes, right? Also, 20 minutes is not enough time. I want you to carve out an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. You can also give a heads up. Hey, I want to have a conversation with you about sort of my work at the company. And then you can say, if that feels like really ominous, you can be like, it's all good. Smiley. I mean, again, this depends on your relationship, but I don't want them to totally walk in blind. You can also start the conversation and you can say, is this a good time for you to have this discussion? If they say no and they keep trying to avoid it, which I have totally worked for somebody who did that, you have to stay on it. If you also feel like the whole thing is feeling not good to you, whether it's negotiating for current, new job or current job, and you feel like they keep putting things off or making you feel small or whatever it is, please pay attention to your instinct. I think way too often women, and maybe men too, we just ignore that little voice in our head that's telling us really what's up. How often is that voice right? It's like 100% right. Why do we not trust ourselves? That's a whole other exercise of like, how do you get better in tune with your own voice, right? The positive voice, the voice that's warning you. They're going to treat you like this for the entire time you're there. This is not a one-time thing. So how that experience is during the conversation of raises, do pay attention to it. And that's where having other options, right? Other job offers, side hustles, savings, right? These things are just so, so important. So I don't know what the end of my sentence was supposed to be, but there you go. In terms of like, okay, well, I decide, you know what, screw them. I don't want to take on more responsibilities. It doesn't help me. You just make it clear that you're not trying to avoid more responsibilities and that you're always willing to like pitch in and help the team achieve its goals. But you really want to stay focused at the task at hand. You want to be able to give 100% to what you're doing, right? You can say, I really wanted a pay increase because I believe that it's commensurate, with the market, or not just I believe, I know it's commensurate with the market. So I would really prefer that we stick with my current responsibilities if you're going to stick to the same pay rate. That doesn't mean that we don't need to explore this in the future. Maybe ask for the full compensation, right? So as long as you're saying things like, I want to make this work, but here are some of my reservations. What do you think? What would you do, right? So it's maybe like even finishing what you say and then inviting them in to a larger conversation, right? This should be about compromise and conversation, not about confrontation. I love alliterations. Love them. We have 5 minutes left. So I'm just going to say right now, I'm going to take a look at the chat really quickly. So you're going to hear me be silent for 1 second, but I do want to acknowledge that there is a person who said, what to do after my employer says, if you want more money, find a job elsewhere. What do you do, ladies? Don't actually do that though. Burning bridges, bad. Don't burn bridges. You say, thanks, but no thanks. Right? Obviously have a backup. And again, this goes back to like what I said in the beginning, negotiating is kind of a privilege, right? Because you're able to walk away. Those warning signs, right? If this is a toxic culture, you got to get out. There's only so much fixing you can do or that you should do. Piece of information or piece of advice that came from Anjali Sood. She is the CEO of Vimeo. She's like 37, woman of color, super impressive. She actually rose up there. She started at a lower level and got herself into the CEO position. She gave me an amazing piece of advice that I want to share with you. She said that every time she was considering taking a new job, she did what she calls power mapping. Okay. Power mapping. That is, you look at who works there and how long does it take them to move up? How long do people stay at the company? What kind of person gets promoted if it is all white men from Ivy Leagues? Okay. This basically demonstrated to her, is this a place where I can grow? Is this a place where I can thrive? Right? You can also ask all of those questions in your interview. So that's helpful to know sort of moving forward how you can tell what's up. All right, good. Let's see. Can you talk a bit about salary negotiations at a nonprofit? Erin, I've been there. I've worked at nonprofits. I hear you. I've had many conversations where nonprofits say they just don't have the money. That is true. They will say that, and they will also guilt you. They will make you feel like asking for more money is taking away from people who need it, right? Resources. So, first of all, nonprofits, you are only as good as the employees that you have. And if you pay people mediocrely, I don't know if that's a word, but you may not keep people long. That is expensive to lose, right? You've got to find a new person, retrain them. You also might get mediocre people if you're being paid, little. So do you want to give, like, anybody who runs a nonprofit, pay people fairly, pay people well. Just don't have the money. You still try to push them. All right. Can you do just a little bit more? Because this is the market research, right? And they still say no. I think I answered it, right? This is the full compensation conversation. There's only so much you can do. I think, again, questions I often get, they believe that there's just got to be a way that they make more money. And as somebody who has a startup or, a small company, I guess we're 4 years old, so I don't know if we're still a startup. We don't have a lot of money. And there is only so much that we can pay people. Like, that's just the truth of it. So that's also where I want us to have some grace, give ourselves grace, give the employer grace, and just pay attention to sort of how open they are to the discussion and if they're willing to give you full compensation. And if they just keep shutting you down, then that's like, okay, was this a place that you want to work ultimately? Salary negotiation, if you're coming from unemployment, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? It's all about the market. Let us see. Good. You guys are answering each other. Do you have leverage when you're unemployed? They don't necessarily even know that you're unemployed, because even if it's on your, you could have side hustles, guys. You could be a freelancer. Like, they don't know that you're making income elsewhere. They don't know that you're applying to other jobs. Like, you can be an extremely attractive candidate even if you are, quote, unemployed. So this is also about you having a lot of confidence and faith in yourself too. Let us see, going through. Can you go through a scenario start to finish? Let me tell you, here's this, wow, I'm getting a lot of text messages. Scenario salary thing, and then I'm going to talk about what to do next. That is 4 questions. 4 questions. So in the script, you're going to ask a friend, and yes, you do need to practice. Please, if you don't practice, chances are you're going to make less money. Okay. The 4 questions I want you to have your friend ask you is, what's your current salary? How much do you want to make? We can't afford that. There's no room in the budget. Right? That's for a new job. What are you going to say? What's your current salary? I'd prefer not to say, right? My boss doesn't want me to share it. Or here's what I currently make, but I believe that's not relevant to our discussion. How much do you want to make? This is the research I did. What you're doing is you're anchoring high. You could say the range. That's not going to hurt you. Asked me, is that hurting us to say the range? No, because it's inviting them into the conversation. Here's generally the market research that I did, but I am going to be asking for the high end because I'm a top performer. You already know your 3 numbers. Okay. So you're going to stick to your 3 numbers, even if you gave them a certain range. Or you can say, here's the number I want based on my research. What do you think about that? Right? We can't afford that. Okay. Okay. Full compensation. We can't afford that. Oh, no, excuse me. We can't afford that. All right. So go down a little bit, but you're not going down to your bottom line. We still can't afford it. There's no room in the budget. Full compensation. Easy. Good. Well, we are, this is an interesting one. So how to negotiate for offer 1 if your current salary and offer 2 are also above market for the role and experience level. think you should always still negotiate, and you just really dig into that you are a special employee. Like, you are a really special person. By the way, go make friends or go talk to friends with people who are in sales, marketing, PR. They're going to help you tell your story, help you spin your story. Okay. You are going to ask for more because you are a badass and because they want you, right? They want you. And maybe it's less about the market research, right? Because you did the market research, you're on par. And if you say, well, I did my market research, so I believe I should get X, well, we already know that. So it's actually about, this is a great starting point. I want to dig in a little bit more to what I bring to this company. And by the way, bring up ideas you have, right? Like, this is how I was able to get hired places or to get raises, is because I got them super jazzed about what I was going to do at the company. And it was kind of like, well, if you want my ideas, you got to pay for them. There we go. We are at time, my friends. We are at time. I want to tell you a few things that are really important for you and for me. I wrote a book. I have a very long chapter on salary negotiation. So you should purchase this. Also, it looks pretty. Gold foil. Okay. It follows the lives of 9 real women. Real women. I do not change a single detail about them. Each of them is going through a professional challenge. As I tell their story, I stop along the way. I give them advice. Well, I'm really giving you advice, right? So I'm sort of career coaching them and telling their story at the same time. Everything from understanding who you are and what you want, getting the job, right? Networking, interviewing, negotiating your salary, setting yourself up for success, right? Making sure you protect your energy, set boundaries, getting promotions, raises, navigating office politics. And what I think is the most special part about this book is, how do you make change at your company? How do you implement better policies like paid family leave? How do you lobby elected officials? Because at the end of the day, yes, we do the best that we can, but we are operating in a system that was not made for us, that was not made for us, okay? Not made by us. So we've got some structural change we need to do. I would love you to subscribe to this channel. This is new for us. This is new for me doing it this way. If you want to see more videos, right? Lots of different subjects. I have lots I can talk about, obviously, because, I wrote a 320-page book, which, by the way, it's available at ladiesgetpaid.com/book. It officially comes out January 12th, but it's available for pre-sale now. So if you order it, you will be the first to get it, you and my mom. Also, if you go to ladiesgetpaid.com/book, you'll see some bundles where you can buy merch and basically get the merch for free along with the book. Video library, like I said, ladiesgetpaid.com/institute, $9 a month, 100+ hours of webinars. What else? Follow me on Instagram. By the way, people send me emails. My inbox is so scary. Even just saying my inbox, I'm getting like friggin' heart palpitations right now. Seriously. Don't email me. DM me at Claire Gets Paid. That's my Instagram handle. Also, Ladies Get Paid. That's our Instagram handle. That is where we send updates. You can see my super cute cat. Even if you don't like cats, you're going to like my cat. What else? I'm also available to speak. If you want to bring me into your company, that would be great. You can go to ladiesgetpaid.com/book. You can find out more there. Also, I am doing private group coaching. Okay. Check that out. If you get at least 10 friends together and you all buy the book, I will spend 60 minutes with you answering all of your career questions. I'm not going to do this for very long. So you want to book me now. That's it. I always forget to self-promote, and I tell other people, other women, you've got to talk about your shit. So good for me. I did it. Was this helpful for you all? Lie. Tell me it was. No, I'm also happy to take positive feedback. I just want to really thank you all for being here. Time is money. You spent it with me. I believe in you so much. I really do. I really do. It's an ongoing situation here, guys. Like, I gave you a framework. I did the best that I could, but of course, everybody's situation is a little bit different. So join ladiesgetpaid.com. We'll add you to that Slack group. We've got a salary negotiation channel. That's where you can share what you're going through. Thank you so much for all the love, guys. You're making my day right now. Have a beautiful Friday, beautiful weekend. I know times are tough, but if you're on the East Coast, you've got snow, enjoy it. If you're in LA like me, go to the beach on Sunday because we can enjoy it. Much love to you all. Please, please stay safe. That is the most important thing. Stay safe, stay well. Love you guys.